So officials in BC have revised the magnitude of that earthquake. It's now down to 4.7. These things do go up and down. As people continue to share their stories of feeling the tremors. And Michelle Gassoub here in the newsroom, she felt them as well. Michelle, we have talked about where we were, how we reacted. We're now, a few hours away here. What's the latest that we know?
So as you said there, the latest is 4.7 magnitude. At first we heard 5.1, then 5.4, now down to 4.7. And that's very normal that they are investigating this, studying this, and that is where they have landed at this time. But what really matters is no reports of damage, no reports of injuries. And according to Emergency Info BC, no tsunami risk to the west coast. As we know, that epicenter was in sea shelter around 60 kilometers northwest of Vancouver. And if you were in Squamish around 2:40, you might have felt an aftershock of about a 1.9 magnitude there in Squamish. Now, something we were talking about last hour was that there is some people who received an emergency alert warning them of this earthquake and some who didn't, and there didn't really appear to be a rhyme or reason of where you were and whether you received it or not. We have heard from BC's Minister for Emergency Preparedness, Kelly Green. Here's what she had to say about that system.
I've had the similar reports that the earthquake earlier warning system did have uneven messages to people. It is a federal system, so I'll be working with my federal counterpart to help them understand where there were gaps in the system, because we want to make sure people are well informed and can keep themselves safe in case of earthquake.
So confirmation there, Sarah, that system does not appear to have worked as it should have exactly. Some of us receiving that alert, some of us did not receive it. So they will be investigating that. That is a federal system that manages these alerts. Something else we've heard from the city of Vancouver now is that they say today's events call for a level 1 response under the city's earthquake response plan. This includes immediate inspection of our bridges by the city's structural engineering consultants, which are now underway. So those bridges are not closed. And if you see people working on them, inspecting them, doesn't mean that they're not safe, doesn't mean that they're dangerous, Sarah, but they are out there inspecting those bridges, making sure everything is okay, because this did trigger the city's level 1 earthquake response.
And that's interesting because we know there's no reports of damage, but sometimes you can't necessarily see the damage until you really get in there and look closely. So that is good to know that that's happening. We talk about the fact that we could feel it here. We weren't quite sure exactly what it was for a few seconds, and then we realized quickly this is an earthquake. But what are other people saying about what they felt outside of this building?
Yeah, so we heard from people outside this newsroom who had a similar experience to us, and we had a reporter out in Burnaby who headed out and spoke to some people and got a wide range of response of what people felt or didn't feel. Let's go to those clips now.
This reaction has just scared the crap out of me because I saw the things like vibrating a little bit, and now it's gone.
All of a sudden, I felt like the shelves shake, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I looked at the guy next to me. I was like, was it just me? Because I thought maybe they're moving pallets around or something like that. And then he was like, no, I felt it too. I was like, okay.
And then I did feel the shaking, so I was a little bit scared, and I was thinking if it was an earthquake or not. But some other people say yes, it is an earthquake.
No, nothing. This is news to me now, literally. I'm on the news telling.
So interesting to hear there. Some people scared the crap out of me. Other person found out from our CBC reporter asking about the earthquake. He had no idea that there was an earthquake, and he was actually driving. And it's really interesting, Sarah, that if you're driving during a kind of medium or low earthquake, you might not actually feel it, I guess, because of the movement of the car. I don't quite know the science behind that, but also hearing the person who was in Superstore, that he immediately looked to someone next to him to see if they felt it too, because he thought maybe it was just him, and a lot of us kind of describing that reaction as well.
And I wondered about that because when we all went outside as part of the evacuation, you could see all the cars were driving around, and in fact you could see a lot of buildings. There were people inside having their lunch at a restaurant, and they continued having their lunch. They're not everybody necessarily evacuated, but I stand by the fact that we all ran out of them. I stand by that was the right thing to do. Thanks.
I think it was.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Michelle.
Sarah.
We'll see you soon. CBC meteorologist and seismologist Johanna Wagstaffe has also been tracking this earthquake for us, and she has more on just how common this kind of earthquake is.
I also felt that for 10, 15 seconds, and my heart picked up in pace, hoping it wasn't the big one. Of course, it wasn't. As you said, we do get earthquakes here in BC. It is not rare. This was a moderately sized earthquake. So the last time we felt anything this strong was probably back in 2001, the Puget Sound Seattle earthquake that was a magnitude 6.8. We have felt some minor earthquakes in that time period, but we may be talking a couple decades since we have felt something in the southwestern BC area with this much shaking, mainly because it was so shallow, just a couple kilometers below the surface of the earth. So that's why it was so widely felt, and in some cases so strongly felt, although great to hear no reports of damage or injury. But this is what we call, Sarah, a crustal earthquake. We get several different kinds. This would have been a localized fault in the area. The main tectonic setting is off the coast of Vancouver Island. That's where those two plates are locked. We're waiting for the big one. This one wouldn't have likely released any pressure or helped ease any of that big one, but this is not the big one, Sarah, and we are watching still for that pressure off the coast, but not at this moment.
Joe, when we were allowed to come back into the building because it was a policy at CBC, we evacuate when something like that happens. There was talk. I mean, could there be aftershocks from an earthquake like this?
With this crustal type, this North American plate earthquake, yes, we may see aftershocks. And I heard Michelle report a smaller one a couple hours after the main shock. At this point, the magnitude 5.4 is what we call the main shock in the sequence. But as the shifting of those plates settle into the new position, we may see a few more aftershocks in the sort of hours or days even to come. But generally, they will die off in magnitude and in frequency. Again, this one is not on that main fault line. This is a separate localized fault. But yeah, we may see or feel a couple more rumbles in the days to come.
So Joe, you said this, and we've said it as well. This was not the big one, and we talk about the fact that that is inevitable. It would seem that it's going to happen. What we did here, I stood in a doorway, makeup artist went under the desk, we evacuated the building. Whenever something like this happens, those kinds of drills that we go through, it's sort of an important reminder of what to do. Did we do it right? What did you do?
You nailed it, Sarah. I was very excited when anyone told me they got under a desk. Or stayed in their bed, basically just stepped away from anything that could fall on you. If you're close to a table, get under it. But if you're sort of in the middle of the room and you're safe, it's really the falling objects that we worry about. And it sounds like almost everyone did the right thing. But as you said, this is what seismologists call the good earthquake. It was a reminder. Hopefully everyone's getting their kit and their plan ready. It was in the middle of the day. I'm sure, Sarah, you and I weren't the only ones checking in with our kids' school to make sure there wasn't panic and that they all got under the desk. So yeah, this is the reminder earthquake, and it's a good one.
Thanks, Johanna. CBC meteorologist and seismologist Johanna Wagstaffe in North Vancouver.